really striking to me that we often focus on, symptoms like, okay, the youth groups are dwindling or the pews are empty.
Right.
Those are kind of the surface indicators that there's this deeper disconnect.
Yeah.
I think one of the most overlooked signs is that lack of youth voices in leadership and decision making. When young people aren't invited to shape the direction of their church, what does that tell them about how their perspectives are valued?
That's true.
That's
true. And that lack of involvement, that sense of maybe not being truly heard, it can really impact, a church's ability to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, we see this trend. We can't ignore it. Declining church attendance, especially among the younger generation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think there are, of course, multiple factors, but, neglecting the needs and desires of young people certainly contributes to that decline.
Hello, everybody. Welcome everyone to this live stream discussion. This is a live segment with the host, myself, Loma Curtis Services, along with Andre Gadson Jr. and Warren Drayton II. And I'm getting some feedback. One of you turn your mic down a little bit. Test one. All right, here we go. All right, so what I wanted you guys to know, those who are joining in, whether you're going to catch the live right now or you're going to catch the replay, I just want to make sure that, let me put this disclaimer here, because, sometimes when challenges and discussions like this is shared, normally is thought upon more of a negative way, and it's not. So let me put this disclaimer here. I want to make sure that those who are watching, whether live or replay, that you understand that this is a healthy conversation, and it is a conversation that I've been having with you for some years now. And when I met Warren and Andre, and they began to just share some things, I'm like, hey, let's have this conversation. I want to open this up to you for those that may want to hear this conversation, those who want to learn from this conversation, not just saying it's issues or challenges, but learning from it. So let me just put that disclaimer out. All right. So hello, Warren. Hello, Andre. How y'all doing?
I'm feeling great. I don't know how y'all feeling. I want to start off by saying thank God and thank you, Miss Loman, for this opportunity to be able to share on today.
You are so welcome, Warren. Yes. What about you, Dre?
I'm feeling great too. My Falcons are winning the game, and I also want to thank you for allowing me to come on and discuss this with you.
Awesome. Yes. And like Warren said, we thank God. Yes, we've prayed before this session, y'all, and I'm just believing that God is in the midst of us, and his purpose is going to be fulfilled in this conversation. So let me publicly say thank you too for being open for this discussion. I know that this is a discussion from years and years that had needed to continue to be talked about and discussed, because you as young people, you have a voice. You guys have voices. And, I think from a whole, as a church perspective, we don't give you, from my opinion, okay, I don't believe we give you enough space to share some challenges and some issues such as this, as we're talking about the consequences of neglecting youth. So here we are. I first want to give you a chance to introduce yourself. Warren, you go first. Dre, you go first. And then let's just dive into this topic. So Warren, who are you?
My name is Warren Drayton II. I ain't nothing special. I was born and raised here in Savannah, Georgia. to two great parents, Anna and Warren Drayton Sr. I'm a young and upcoming freshman at the Georgia Southern University in Statesboro, Georgia. Um, and that's about it. That's about it.
Dre.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Andre Gadson Jr. I attend Windsor Forest High School. I'm like Warren, there's nothing special about me either. I was born and raised in Savannah as well, and my parents are Kendra Bedford and Andre Gadson.
All right, big shout out to the parents. So
Right,
I want to
right.
know who's in the comments section, who's watching here. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So hello, family, hello, Facebook family, YouTube family, and LinkedIn family. So I want to just give a shout out to those people who are also watching and who are going to catch the replay. So hello, y'all. And
So,
I want to make sure that I give you guys some shout out. So make sure, if you're in the comments, just, say hi, I'm here. What brought you here? What interests you in this topic? I hope that this will be a discussion for also ministry leaders, those who have a lead role to making decisions. That once you guys are sharing this, there can be a change because this is what I noticed. I don't know if you guys noticed this. But one of the things I noticed is that yes, we may have conversations and you may have shared some things, or the youth begin talking about some things, but if there's nothing that's actually happening and someone who's actually making those decisions, we're going to end up at the same place next year, okay, in 2025 and years to come. So, that's my prayer, is that, that actually be a change after this conversation, and that we're not just having this, but there can be something that can change after this. So I'm gonna leave this topic or conversation to both of you to share. Okay, we're talking about, pretty much the consequences of um let me just say some of the challenges that you guys face. And here's the topic here: the consequences of neglecting youth, how it impacts church community and the future. So when you guys even think about that topic, what comes to mind? Either you can talk.
Andre, I'll let you start first.
Well, I'll try my best. When I think about it, now it's no training in the church. Like the churches, they don't want to train you. So if they don't train you or show you the way, how will you know how to carry on the church, or how to lead the church in the vision? And we're in our churches, we're stuck in the tradition. We think it's because we're younger, we can't do anything in the church, and we don't have no say so in the church. But Warren, let me turn that one over to
Uh,
you.
I think a lot of our problem is it's like what Andre said. We're kind of stuck in this traditional way where we I was telling my dad one day, I was like, Pop, I said, we cannot do like we did back in the day. Back in the day, a lot of churches they did was like their parents just forced the children to go to church, and that's just not working anymore. So now we have what we call quote unquote rebellious children who just don't want to go to church, and it's like we're not really advertising to our younger audience. We're not really uh, focusing and empowering them as much as um as we would like to. And I think we're starting to feel a little bit neglected. And when we start to feel a little neglected, that's when we start backing away, one from the church as a whole. And then you have the people of Christ, because that's when you got people coming out with these different type of stigmas and stereotypes of what church is, what church folks are, and a lot of it is not true. But we're never really, given the opportunity to see outside of that. So that's where I think we are as a church now. When it's come down to the consequences, is that many people my age are not getting saved anymore. Many people my age are leaving Christ. That's what I believe is the consequence. That's what I believe when I think of that topic. Andre, you want to go into it a little bit more?
I do. When you say people your age are not being saved, I think it's because of the church. People our age, they don't come in suits and ties and stuff. They come in jeans and a t-shirt or street clothes, and the church will turn them away because what's they saying? They use come as you are. They say, "Oh, you don't come in church like that," and they turn them away from the church. And another thing is you said with advertisement. You know how churches use they advertise the church in the newspaper. I see it all the time, and come worship with us on Sundays. The thing is, people are not our age are not reading newspapers anymore. We in TikTok and Twitter and all that stuff, and the people who would get
Mm.
used to that is the young people. You cannot get the people through the newspaper anymore. You need to use the TikTok, use Twitter, use Instagram, whatever you can to get the people. Young people, and then young people will be the ones to help you, but they don't want to use them.
Right, right. And I think what a lot of churches do, what they do, they have this youth advisor. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind having a youth advisor, but make sure you are an advisor. Okay, advise the youth to where we're supposed to go. Don't tell us how to think or how to feel. Advise us on what is wrong and what is right and what how should we progress forward. Like to say, okay, I want to have a youth explosion, right? Youth explosion. What does a youth explosion look like? We have food, bouncy houses, drinks, everything given away, all this stuff, and you just tell me straight out the gate that's a bad idea. We're not doing that. No, tell me why it's a bad idea. How can we have that and move forward into another idea of what we should do? Don't just cut off my idea straight out the gate. I'm not saying that they happen to me personally, but that's what happens in a lot of churches that we just getting cut off from our ideas and cut off on how we need to express and cut off on ideas in general on what we should do to empower each other as youth. So we need need to be more paid attention to because when we start to feel neglected and we start to leave, that's when the church begins to die out. Andre, you want to continue?
That's true. I visited multiple churches, and all I see is older people and very few young people. Well, my question is, what happens when the older people die? Who will take over? Because it's no young people in church, and they're not don't want to train us, and they push us away. And like you were saying, going back to about the advisor, um, I've seen it in multiple situations. The advisors want to run the youth or control them and not advise them, but you're just there to oversee, and that's why you don't have that much people on the youth advisory committee.
So the question now is it's not less because a lot of churches they're becoming desperate now because not only is it just the youth leaving the church, adults are leaving the church also. So what worked for my parents and my grandparents to get them to church back in the day is not working for us anymore. So what should we do as a people to try to grow our the youth and grow uh, the whole department? And a lot of it, I want to say, it starts with listening to the youth you got now, because I'd be surprised at what some of the people in my own personal church can do. When I listen to them, I just be surprised at what is possible if we just listen to what we got first. My church is doing. great, great things with our youth department. We got media, we got our little festivities going on, and we're doing great strides in with my church personally, and I love to see it. And I never ever I fathomed the idea of what was possible with just the little amount of people you have. If you just start basing it with the little amount of people you have now, then they will go tell their friend, and their friend will tell another friend, and another friend will
Mhm.
tell another friend, and that's how you begin to. That's just a starting place of growth. Andre, you want to go into a little more depth for me?
I want to ask y'all a question, and I want to say hello to a few people who joined in. I see you guys also have joined from the personal page. Thank you for sharing, Crystal. Hi, Miss Georgette. See, Crystal has joined us, and also I saw Pastor Selena. Great evening. She said it was a great question and that she loves jeans and t-shirts. Just want to give some shout out to some people here, and thank you so much for sharing. I also have shared. Thank you, Miss Georgette, for sharing. So um, I want to ask this, and if you guys are listening in and you have a question, put them in the comments too. So I heard you guys, I mean, really loud and clear, and there are multiple things I wanted to share, but I want to more so give this opportunity for y'all. I just want to share this though, or ask for an average, let's say, pastor that's going to listen in are listening in now, and you're saying, give you guys a chance to, do something. What's the starting point? Is it like gathering a meeting? What are you guys as youth, expecting? Are you expecting a gather like a pizza night, or just y'all gather, or you don't want all that? You just want to, like, what's the start? How can a pastor or ministry leaders grab you guys and say, let's get started? Like, what does that look like? What do you want? What is it? What does that look like?
Well, I mean, it's I've talked to many pastors on how to start and where do they start. I want to say get us more involved in the service first, because I know me personally. I used to be on my phone, but they got me off my phone. They got me more
Okay.
involved. They got me to sing. They got me to be an usher. They got me to do audio team, video team. I got to be able to start working in the church in order for me to begin to love and enjoy the church itself. And maybe once I started beginning to love and enjoy myself, uh, maybe I could talk to the pastor every now and then. Maybe like I have an idea. Okay, hey pastor, can we have one Sunday we just have food at the church? Because it really does not take much. It's the simple things that we appreciate. Like for
Okay.
example, we love food. I can tell you like this now. We love a nice hot meal. Have you seen me? I love a nice meal. So that's one simple thing where you could just uh, have food after church one Sunday, and that just get us all to come together and fellowship and love on each other. And once you just build up that good environment of love and fellowship, and showing that we can be saved, can go to church and still have fun and still worship God at the same time.
Okay. So for Dre, do you want to say something on that?
Well, I think Warren covered it all with that one. He got it all.
Okay. Because I was gonna say this with Pastor Selena. So, she also asked, where can we start? She said, we are beginning and want to fill our church with young people. So it sounds like from where the angle that you're coming from, well, actually both of you, Dre and Warren, it sounds as if you are talking more so that there are youth already in the church, and you're giving some feedback on how the church can, bring them in, bring their voices in those decision making process. But what about churches such as Selena, who may not have as much youth, but they do have a goal to fill the church with youth. So that means the youth aren't even there yet. So, from your perspective or your thoughts, what's next? What's the start point?
Andre, you want to go first?
I'll try my best, sir. But I would say personally, I would go out to the youth. Maybe at a park or something that's filled with youth. Just for instance, Savannah. I mean, Death Park or something. You would see a lot of youth there. So I go out to them and have maybe food and music playing and drawing them out and having fellowship while also evangelizing to them. If that makes sense.
Uh, to go back what you say, Andre, yeah. Parks like where you see a lot of young people that will be perfect. Schools, I've seen a lot of churches come up to schools and some advertise, some gave us their flyers and stuff for the churches, and we look for that. We do because it's very rare when we have people who are like-minded like us who are also hungry after God, just like we are. So it's good. The school is a good place to start. Uh, you got the parks. What else you got? You got recreational centers. You just go to all those places. Those would be great places to start to uh, get you aware and get them to know who you are. And once you start to get them familiarized with who you are, then they'll start being able to come towards your church. Because a lot of people won't go unless they feel comfortable.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions, y'all, in the comments? I see a few of you guys have joined also that you're watching here. Big shout out, Stefina Thompson. I see you're joining in. Pastor Sandra, I see you have joined in. So, yes, Pastor Selena says thank you. Here's a comment here. Um, like Andre said, social media plays a big part in our generation. Maybe record some of your services. They'll make kids want to join. I recently shared this, even from my professional side from Loma Creative Services, where, we do marketing and content creation. And I was sharing this recently with someone. I was at an event, won't say no names, but a well-known event in Savannah. And when I was there, they were just sharing about more so political and how to get more voters and younger voters, excuse me, how to get younger voters and getting young people involved. And I'm like, well, for one, we are in this event that didn't even take cards, and I'm like, I had to, you have to pay with cash only. And I had to, tell them, like, hey, first of all, we have to speak the language that you young people are speaking. And I shared another thing. I shared was same thing you said, Dre, about the newspaper. Like, if we want to reach young people, we're gonna definitely need to not just focus on newspaper. And not only that, I was saying social media, because yes, you guys are on TikTok, you guys on IG, and I think you guys, I know you guys bring out so many ideas and creativity when it comes to social media. But here's my thing also, though. Hey, thank you. Bernice introduced me on QR codes, and we are using them now. Hey, Stefina, but here's the thing, though. You guys, y'all, I've noticed, I've watched, and I say you as in just youth as a general, youth in general. You guys bring out so much creativity, so many ideas, so much innovation, connectivity with social media. But what happens if you have a church or church leaders, let's just say that, who aren't open to that? Because that's the issue. What happens when they aren't open? I see Dre. I'm telling you, I've seen it. I've seen it even from the side that I come in on as far as introducing new techniques when it comes to churches, and to see it shut down a lot of times, like, no, they don't feel like, they need that. I've written a proposal to a church. This was not even Savannah. This was in North Carolina recently. And the pastor, he literally was hurting. He said, I know that this proposal is what our church needs to connect the youth. He said, but when I met with the board, I met with the deacons, he met with the people, because it was an old Southern Baptist church, and they made the decision to shut it down. They didn't feel like it was necessary. So what happens when you have these great ideas and you have a church system that shuts it down?
Andre, you want to go first?
I'm telling, I've seen it all, but it does happen. So what? Because every church is not built on a structure where you got one leader that is making the decision, and whatever God tells them, they're going to go with it and they're going to get excited. That not every church is structured that way. You have churches that have the board, they have the structure from the trustees and people that are lead key decision makers who says, no, this is not happening. So what happens when you have a youth that's bursting and ready, when you do have lead key players who make decisions to say, no, this is not where we're going?
Well, to me, um, we're based on tradition. We don't know how to get out of that way of just being stuck in the tradition. They have to vote on everything, but the thing is, tradition is not going to bring the youth in the church. We need something that's going to reach us, that's going to make us interested, and we cannot do it that way.
Um, what I believe is, we as church folk, when you have people higher up in the church, because once we get a position, we take it to heart, and we don't want to create more opportunities for others. So once we like as a church, if we have people of power who don't want to give young people opportunity, those depending on the size of the church, some of those who do support the youth will just break out. What I don't mean lead the church. I mean they'll just uh, host the youth activities on their own. They'll have their own festivities. They'll have on coming out of their pocket because they are so uh, dedicated to the youth to the point where they'll fund them themselves. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow. The fact that you have to come out of your own pocket to fund the youth yourself. But it's like, what is the limit to winning souls for Christ? That's what it is. And when you most of the time when you have a more stricter, more unreserved, no, more stricter policy with like I know about the boards and I know about the trustees, I know about all that. When you have more stricter people like them, people tend to leave.
Mm.
And I believe if we as members, we love this church, we tithe in this church every Sunday, you have to do as much as you can to keep them there. You know what I mean? In order for to keep your church from dying, because eventually that is the goal. Every church should be trying to win souls constantly, and if we get out of that grasp and we just stay stuck in tradition or what was right was, because uh, that's when we begin to lose. That's when we begin to lose the young people in the general. Because I've seen plenty of churches where the young people just left because the pastor wouldn't listen to them, or the pastor would listen to them, but the deacon boards couldn't do nothing about it. The deacon boards were against them. So it's very, you got to be very, very careful walking in them type of steps. territories could, at the end of the day, it could cause so much catastrophic trauma, drama, and all that in the church. Andre, you wanted to go in?
You covered that one. But I will say, I do agree because us and I'm gonna just say the Baptists, us and the Baptists, um, they're stuck on what they have done. You know, I have brought a couple of suggestions to the board, and I was also told, like they said, we've always done this way, or we are not used to doing that, or something like that. And some of my ideas got shut down personally because it wasn't um in their way of doing it, how they would have done things back then. But they have to realize this is a different generation.
Uh, it's when I think of stuff like that, I think of when people like Kirk Franklin and Hezekiah Walker and John P. Key began to get popular. Uh, no, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I was not born then, but I hear the stories. They were called the devil. People didn't like their music because it was too out there. But we have to some things we have to go out of tradition to to reach to reach this new group. Like for example, the youth pastor of my church at the time, he uh he did this on his own money. He took the whole youth department to see a concert of this local gospel rapper in Savannah, and we all enjoyed it. We all left feeling empowered, and we all left feeling more in love with Christ than we came. It's some of those sacrifices we have to take to uh, to get our young people more involved in church. Andre, you wanted to continue on the point?
I will a little bit. You know what? Me being Baptist, I also love some of the hymns and some of the older songs he used to sing. But what they don't realize, we could still sing those songs. We're also singing the newer songs, as in let me just use one. Let me think. Jarrell Smalls. We can
Mm-hmm.
use like people like them with upbeat songs and newer songs. They might have a beat, but they still have meaning to them, same way as the older songs did. And nothing changes, but they say we don't want to forget the songs. You could mix them, you know?
Um,
I think, I think this, I think one of the, uh, just my observation. I think when we're talking about old tradition, Baptists, let's just say old tradition as a whole, because Davina mentioned about tradition as well. So I think what may be missing in this equation to close the gap between the older tradition and the youth is, like you said once before, earlier, I think it was Warren, about youth advisors or maybe a youth pastor or youth leaders that can be a spokesperson. And y'all tell me, and those in the comments too, I think, or youth pastor, youth leader, youth advisor, or advisors, because their needs, I believe, should be a liaison. Because what happens a lot of times is that there's a youth, or children, youth, that are speaking for themselves to head straight on into the board. Like you said, Dre, you were going before the board. And so I believe what will happen when you have, let's just say that, spokesperson, liaison, someone that's a representative, someone who can meet their a halfway point, that can speak the language of the older people, yet they have a heart for youth and know the voice and understand that there needs to be a closing or a merge of the two connections. I think that would be something that is beneficial. What do you guys think? Or yes, no, what do you think?
uh, I believe a liaison is necessary, of course,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of well, we can't get in with the older folk. Of course, a liaison can get in better than we can. It's like
Yes.
I believe we call it code switching. They're able to speak their language, and they're able also to
Yes.
speak our language at the same time. So I always believe that was necessary to yeah, like Miss Eason said, to bridge the gap between the older and the young folk. Um, and what I like about the liaison is able to listen to the youth without saying, just like completely shutting them down and saying what they did, whatever they thinking is just wrong. They're able to listen to them and advise
Yes.
them, and that's what I liked about the liaison. Andre, you want to go on this point?
You covered it all.
That's his favorite favorite words for the night.
Yeah, yeah.
But you guys are doing great. You guys are doing really great. Don't hold back. I feel like you guys are holding back some. You're like
Oh
very
no, no,
careful of
no.
what you're gonna say. Okay, okay. Because this platform. This is what it's for. To give you guys a voice to share all that what's on your heart, because we do have some pastors that are on. We do have some ministry leaders that are on tonight, and I'm sure that they're going to be plenty more that are going to catch this replay. And so this is your opportunity to share, hopefully, like I said earlier, not to be blaming or causing any destruction, but to bring this out in the forefront so that there are some decisions that can be made for the better of the church, because you guys are the future. And I like to say this: you guys are now. um and I have seen many churches that don't have youth in them, and it breaks my heart because you guys, again, you're not just the future, you are now. And I've noticed this too, and I just want to share this, okay? Because this is something I'm like, I don't know. And I want to get your thoughts on this as youth. There are a lot of youth. That's right, Stefina, the now. There are youth events like revivals and conferences that I've seen for you guys, just youth. Not one youth is hosting it. I'm seeing, one time I saw a flyer, the lady had this old hat on. It be older people. And I'm sitting there like, to me, I'm like, well, why don't they allow them to have who they want on the program? Why don't they share their voice? But that's just my thought, just looking at it. So what do y'all feel? Do y'all like those things? Do y'all like older people hosting youth conferences and speaking to y'all? More so like giving wisdom to y'all? Or what are you looking for? I'm just speaking what I think when I see it and I see them old people. I'm like, well, oh my God, why are these people on here on this flyer for the youth conference? But what's your thoughts?
Um,
You laughing, but I'm so serious. I saw that not too long ago. I'm like, well, what are these people doing? This okay, but I'm serious. And then you look at the live, and it's not one youth person on this flyer, or I mean, they're not saying nothing. So I'm like, well, what? And two, another thing I noticed is at events like that, they don't even speak to the youth. So I'm like, well, what is it for? So yeah, Selena, don't laugh at me. I'm serious. Y'all know y'all see that. So what's y'all thoughts? Like literally, I want to hear from y'all on that. What's y'all thoughts?
um, well, first of all, I will start off by saying this. Me and Andre, we grew up in a different background than other younger folks in our generation. We grew up in the traditional Baptist churches. We were able to we know our hymns, we know our responsive readings, we know all of that good stuff. But a lot of that don't work for our audience. So like if you're trying to tap into the youth, just because it worked for me and Andre, don't means it worked for I want to say Pookie Bear and Demarcus and Jamarcus and Jamal and Mark and Luke. It didn't work for them. So when you were saying about the revivals, a lot of the times me and Andre will go to the revival because like we are what they call church kids. We grew up in church all our lives, so that's something that excites us. But as for people who like my friends, they wouldn't want to go to that. Why would I want to go to church out the week? What am I receiving from it? That's what, because a lot of us what we are doing now, we are not thinking spiritually anymore. We're thinking logically. What am I receiving from going to church during this weekday? Who is this? Who is this random? Because at the end of the day, we put preachers on a pedestal to the point where we try to make them something they're not. They're at the end of the day, they're humans just like me. They use the restroom. They have to eat. They have to drink. They have to do number two. They all have to do the same thing. So what makes this guy so special that I got to come out on a weekday to hear him preach? That's what a lot of them are thinking. So if you want to get into their mindset, you have to listen to a younger person's mindset. You know what I mean? If you want to have a revival, it's kind of harder to do with the youth because we're all different.
Mhm.
Somebody might want to have a sleep in at the church, and that'll be good enough for them. Somebody want to have a pizza party. Somebody might actually want to, like me and Auntie, want to listen to the preacher preach for a whole hour. We shout, dance, we worship, we cry on the floor, we roll, we do all of that. But some people, that's just not for everybody. Andre, you want to go in?
Yeah, man, but you're right. It is more of a mindset thing, and it's logically. I was going to a revival a couple of months ago, and I was telling some friends about it, and they said, "Well, you know, is it gonna be food?" And they look for other stuff. I was like, "Man, well, I don't know," but they don't look to be fed spiritually. They don't look for that, but and like you said, like we know our church covenants, we know our hymns, we know our responsive readings, we know all that good stuff. That don't work for them. A good father, I stretch my hands to thee, have me roll on the floor. But to have them just sitting and like won't even move them, you have to touch them. You at least have to teach them. Now, I don't agree with that old people and the revival. Mm-mm. Youth won't. If anybody understand youth more, it'll be youth. And I don't think you have to be a pastor or anything just to host a revival or to be a speaker. You could just be one of our peers, someone we don't mind listening to, someone who understands us. You know?
Yeah, because we as like I was saying earlier, and like what Andre said, we don't just listen to everybody. Uh, just because you put them on a flyer and say youth exposure, we don't come out. There's got to be something else. And unfortunately, that's the times we live in. But that is the truth. It got to be something else. Miss Bernice, you wanted to elaborate on this a little bit for us too.
Well, I agree with what both of you are saying. I'm also in the comment section as well, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to just touch moments of Allerbag, who shared, I think it's the parenting too. Some of our parents are just as simple minded as the children. And also, it's a mindset thing. The older generation has to meet the youth halfway. Yeah, which, I that's what I was mentioning a little bit earlier. Thanks for sharing, Dana, about meeting that halfway, but having some group of people or a person there, a liaison, someone who's going to represent, or people that are going to represent and make that connection with that halfway point, the older generation and then the younger generation, someone who can articulate, understand, have a heart for the youth, and see the future, see the now, yes, like I think it was Stefano who mentioned, yes, the now. And I think for a while we didn't promote, or over the years we did not promote the vacancy of a youth pastor. We did not. It was either the pastor, senior pastor, and then of course you had some evangelists. You may have had some of course the deacon, trustees, and all that for the more traditional setting. But no, that's even till this day, I would definitely say even having an internet pastor is a
Right.
lead role that needs to be filled. And I think it comes back to an educational piece for a lot of these ministries who don't understand that there's a lot of vacancy in the church that needs to be filled. And it's roles that need to be filled, and duties, having these responsibilities. Like, this is a gap, and this is what this individual or group of people can actually feel for your ministry. So yes, creative directors. I think there's a need for these roles, because it all comes back to youth being creative online. Here's the more virtual, connecting with the youth, young people from the TikTok perspective. Yeah, your church, I believe every church should have a TikTok ministry, period. That's just my thought on it. Okay, you guys can. Okay, so you feel what I'm saying? I believe every ministry, if you're wanting to reach the youth, okay, let me just say, if you want to grow,
Yeah.
let me say
Right.
that, because
Right.
every church
Right.
is comfortable. They may not think about growing. They may not even think about, or have no strategy, have no thoughts or plans on growing. They just okay with the same people. They are
Right.
okay with looking at the same
Mm-hmm.
people. Believe it or not, there are a lot of churches, they don't have no thoughts of growing. They're okay and comfortable where they are. They're okay with not stretching and reaching the youth. But this is a conversation for people who I believe do want to grow. You want to connect and touch the heart of youth. And I do believe, yes, if that's you, your ministry needs a TikTok ministry. On point. And you should fill the role from a youth pastor or a youth leader, youth advisor, like Warren said earlier, actually, who's going to advise the youth. Okay. But these are roles I really, in my opinion, believe should be filled. And I think I believe that's the gap. But I would love y'all feedback. I know you asked Warren, what do I have to say? Yes, that is exactly what I would have to say on that. I think what's missing, yeah, come through TikTok. Yeah, I and understand what it's for, and because that means you're not just gonna say you got a video and it's trash, okay?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It has to you have to know what the youth are looking for. What message are you sharing? So let me just say that, because even coming from a strategy standpoint, I think it's important that we understand you're not just saying you have a Facebook Live. Let me say this, because what happened during the pandemic, we saw that there were many churches that knew that they needed to go online because they realized that they were set up that no one could come, no more than 50 people at that time could come to their church. So they knew, hey, we got to do something. We got to have an online somehow. Somebody got to be able to pay their tithes online. So they understand that there was something that they needed to do. But still, even to this day, I believe that there still needs to be an education, because you've had all these churches that began to go online, and now they on Larry Reed Live because they said something on they had their streaming on something, and something was shown that wasn't supposed to show. You had people that were speaking and didn't realize that they were speaking to millions of people online. They didn't realize digital discipleship. They just thought they were talking to people in the house. So I think too, I say that to say this, there's a need for education, not just I'm setting this up, but what is it for, and how, what's the purpose? And that's what I believe. If I was to say the sum of everything of what I believe and what I've been seeing, that's definitely what I want to say. But Safina says it's called bait and hook. It's a principle. The point is to draw them in, Sometimes you have to strategize. Okay, great, yes, on how to do just that. Because if the church is dragging their feet on getting them in, the enemy is plotting on how to draw them. Oh, yes. Churches don't understand that you've had to be handled differently and delicately. Yes, you can't just preach to them like you do the seasoned saints. Blessings, Bryson. He's also a youth. Thank you. So great you guys are coming in. And if you're a youth in the comment section too, hey, share your points. I've seen a couple
Yes,
already been
yes.
sharing your thoughts. But this is your time, to share what your thoughts are. So your thoughts are. And I want to take this moment for even the adults that you guys have been watching, giving great feedback. Do you have any questions for Dre or Warren? What questions do you have?
Uh,
All right, what do you guys want?
I wanted to address Miss Thompson's comment. We do have to strategize how we go into our community and how we go after our youth. Because like you say, you can't be preaching to us like we the seasoned saints. Uh, we move from that age where we're not at the have you tried Jesus age yet. We're not there yet. So we're at the age where like who is God? Well, we're at the age now where who are we and who are we in God? So you can't come to me have you tried Jesus? We can't say he's all right because we haven't tried him yet, really. So so that's kind of where we are right now.
Or turn
So
to your neighbor.
turn to your neighbor. I don't even like my neighbor. I was I came to church to get a good word, to get a good worship. Don't tell me to turn to my neighbor. I don't even know who you are. Turn to my neighbor. No offense to my neighbor. I got nothing against you. Just that what I'm doing that what that got to do? What I got to do between me and God? I ain't talk. You gonna talk to God on my behalf? I mean, help me out here, somebody. So and I do understand. I do understand what Miss Bernice was talking about earlier. We do have to educate the more seasoned churches. Uh, like I was saying earlier, what works for us may not work for everybody. I'm going to go ahead and say there was just one church in Savannah. Me and Audrey went to one Sunday because I was in Savannah and I had something to do late that afternoon. I was like, okay, I need a good worship service. I'm going to go to this smaller Baptist church, and it was Youth Sunday. And I was like, okay, wow. And I mean, uh, they had a whole youth choir, they had youth ushers, they had youth youth sitting up there in the pulpit and everything. I was just surprised, and to see all of that, how youth constructed in the church is because they were educated enough to get them to work in church, but also to get them to have fun. Because I didn't see not one of them pouting. I didn't see one of them cry. I didn't see one dragging their feet. They were all happy to be there. And that is a rare occasion. If you can get us to be happy to be there and serve, there's something going on in there that you got to learn from. That you got to find out. Uh, and yeah, we just have to be educated. We have to be educated. Um, and yeah, you was right, Miss Bernice. A lot of churches they they uh they see the need when it comes to a dire need. Don't wait until your church is about to die or is a dire situation like when COVID hit. A lot of churches shut down because they didn't know how to move on with modern day technology.
Mhm.
So if they couldn't do modern day technologies and their members couldn't come in person, they were stuck in a bind. So what do we do in those type of situations? And we have to be trained for it. Uh, what Audrey, you know the song and what it said in about be ye also
Ready.
ready. So we got to be ready for almost anything. Audrey, you want to go ahead and elaborate on
I will. When you was talking about being trained, this is another thing. The older saints don't want to train us because they think we're not ready or we're not qualified. But they have to remember, you do not have to be a certain age to be used in the church. You don't have to be 65 plus to do something around the church. They think, oh, just because you're not this age, you can't do this, or because, or something like that. They just don't want to use us. But like you said, don't wait till the church is about to die out. Use us now. Train us now so we'll be prepared to take on our
Right.
generation.
I think that's a lot of our churches problem nowadays. Where and there was a recent church. I ain't putting out names. I ain't putting out names. Miss Bernice, I promise. But there was this recent church. This pastor gave uh, church to another to this pastor. The same church. Take a roll back and retire because they trained up this person responsible enough to take over the church. And I think that's what we're having a lot of trouble with is succession. If you don't train me, how are we gonna do right? So uh, it's like what Andre was saying, use us now. Because if you don't use us now, then that's when the church begins to die out. If, if you don't use us now, it's like we uh we get like dissipated. We start to lose ourselves.
Hmm.
We started to step away from God. Then if you don't like use us now, Miss Bernice, you
Le-
wanna?
Yeah, I think that's good too. I know I'm only coming in when you guys call me because I want to give y'all this,
Mm-hmm.
this time. When I hear my name, all right, I'm coming. So here is the big question, okay? I know every youth is different. So I want to know what you mean when you say, use us now. In what way what does secession look like to you? Like, are you feel like you wanting to preach more? Do you think? Because I haven't seen many young people like preachers. Like let's just say the great example is Jesus. Like he was young and he was ministering. You had Apostle Paul who was young. Timothy, excuse me. You had Timothy who had Paul who uh who instill knowledge and wisdom to him on with ministry. So we've seen it through biblical times, but I do not see I don't see it often. More so now, I when I do see it, I see it from a senior leader as a father passing it down to their their son or their daughter. Most times I've seen just a lot of just sons. I haven't seen where there are younger generations, young leaders that they're not related by blood, but someone is pouring into them. So this is twofold, okay? So I just want to get your feedback on this, okay? So as we're talking about we're talking about secession. What do you mean? Do you mean more so from a preaching, from a teacher, or you guys just want to be able to just have a voice or just to make decisions? What does that, or even just manage the TikTok, have a minute, a leader, a online minister that's going to talk to the youth online. What do y'all mean when you say, secession, giving, use you now? Because that was good, use us now. What does using us now mean? What are you expecting?
Um, I tell people this all the time. Even though people disagree with me, I don't want to be no pastor. I just I look at it. It's a very hard job. I don't want to be a pastor. But when I mean succession wise, don't wait till you about 70, 80 plus and say you're gonna hand over the church. You're on your last you're on your last legs then. No offense to nobody. Uh, don't wait till you got one foot in the grave to say I'm ready to retire. Because at that point, Because what a lot of preachers are doing, because they're scared of their job security, that they put up this fence so that no one could, they can't train nobody under them for when it's time for them to retire. Because at one point, all preachers must retire, and we don't want to you don't want us to put us in a situation where you die while you're still the head of the church, or you or you about to die and you haven't trained anybody for your position, and you leave the church vulnerable for what is to come. What I mean by training and succession, I don't mean preaching necessarily. I mean church in general, whether it's being a secretary or uh, training to be a deacon, because now there's not many young deacons. When I mean young deacons, I don't mean us as 18-year-olds. I remember my grandfather, he was a deacon when he was in his early 30s or late 20s. It was a one or two. So it's not really much training going on here. We are waiting till uh, it's about time for someone to go, uh, to be put in a place of training and time to make succession for the church. Every church needs to have a succession plan, and that's when the young people comes in. We you got to be able to be like, hey, this is our church. You've been a member for such a long. Let me train you on how to do things right and wrong, so that when later, if maybe one day I get into that position, like I'm maybe say chairman of the deacon board, I can't say I wasn't trained on how to do this position. I could be ready for it, and I know how to improve my church. I know how to help the church grow. I know how to handle this and handle that. We don't want to be put in the position where I say, "Oh, I don't know how to handle it," and that's how many people ended up like on, like as Bernice said, on Larry Live, because people are cutting the fool because they don't know how to act, because they were not trained to act a certain way. They were not trained to uh, do right by the church. Andre, you want to go ahead?
Yes, sir. What I meant by use us now, I've talked to multiple people who have sermons in their phone, and they say, "Oh, I've been wanting to um teach this, but my pastor won't let me." I say, "Well," I told them, "Well, don't just wait on your pastor. You can still evangelize. Use it on go live or something." But also, you're right. The church needs a succession plan, and one time in point, the members will get older. They will. The 80s and 90s, they'll be done die out. And like Miss Max said, it's more we'll be figuring it out because they don't want to train us.
Right, right. And when it comes to preaching, uh, I'm gonna tell you how I believe. I believe everybody, everybody, whether you're a member, whether you are a youth advisor, pastor, whatever your title, even if you don't have a title, you are made to preach. The Bible says, "Go out, ye into all the lands and spread the gospel." It don't speak specifically to a pastor, bishop, apostle. It speaks to everybody that you must go out into the land and spread the gospel. So when it comes to youth preaching, I believe there got to be a system to it, like Miss Thompson was saying earlier. That everything got to be systematic almost. So when it comes to youth preaching, uh, maybe some are not ready. Like Andre, you said, some are ready. You got youth people, that have sermons fully in their phone. Maybe that would be a good time for the pastor to train them. Be like, okay, I want to take out this one-on-one time with you. See, see how your doctrine is, or make sure it's not too advanced or not too simple. Make sure it's the right type of message for the right type of people. Because you can't come up to a Women's Day celebration talking about men's topics. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So you got to know your audience. There's so much things that go into preaching that a lot of experienced preachers that don't want to teach us how to do.
That's right.
So when it comes to things like that, we need more uh, teachers to teach preaching, and not everybody's meant to go to seminary. Why would when I got a pastor at home that could teach me the doctrine, teach me how it is done. Well, I don't need to do all the extra because some people are just not made to preach full time and be a pastor and all that stuff. Some people are not. Some people can preach every other Sunday, but they're not meant to be a pastor.
That's right.
Some of them could be called to be an accountant. Some of them could be called to be a mortician. Some of them could be called to be a media analyst. It depends. So that's where we as a church and we as a governing body of church got to do better. It's in training our young people. I would love. I've seen a lot of churches in Savannah where they have plenty young preachers preach on some youth Sundays. I preached that one where they on youth Sundays they get someone from out in the community, a young person, bring them into the church and they preach. It's things like that we need more often. And the pastor was able to critique me and help me out and what I need to do more of, what I need to do less of in the future or later. And that's what we just need more of, Ms. Bernice.
That's awesome. Yeah, they're doing such a great job, aren't they, y'all? Mentoring the church members. Come on now, and amen. Everyone isn't called to preach. Yeah, I mean, you pretty much covered it. You both are doing, like I said, are doing a great job in expressing how you feel and what you've experienced, and you've gave some great feedback. You gave some great advice and pointers um, to the pastors and adults as a whole. I just want to open this up to some of them who are watching. Do you guys have a question that you want to share before we end this live? I do want to make sure um, everyone who's watching, if they may have a question for you guys, can ask that. Okay, great. I'm glad you guys did enjoy this. Good stuff. I would love part two. Add some more people in. That would be awesome. And get some more people in, because I do believe too that you guys. It's not just you. I believe that
Right.
there are a lot of youth that are experiencing that, and I'm sure you guys can attest to this, that your peers, there are a lot of youth that want to express but may not have this platform like this. And so I would love to give that platform to those who want to share this, because again, we don't always have this conversation, not
Mhm.
publicly. Okay, we may talk about it, you know not through social media, but we may just um have those conversations, or the flyers, or you may have like somebody post something about it. I think this is where we started this conversation. You guys had shared a flyer or a post that somebody mentioned about the youth, and I was like, okay, y'all ready? Because we've been
Yeah.
talking about it. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
posted about it. So, for those who don't know the backstory of this, we had talked about, youth voices before, but they had shared something. Somebody had did a post about youth. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember
Yeah.
it
I
was a
remember.
post. Okay, and I inboxed y'all. Okay, when y'all ready to talk about it, let's literally, let's talk about it. Yes, there will be a replay. I will keep it up. Also, it's on YouTube. I hate Pastor Stary. I say hello to Pastor Stacy Berry.
How y'all doing?
Um,
Pastor Barry.
so yes, we're live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So the videos are, will remain up. I'm also going to do some editing for TikTok to grab that audience as well, because I believe it's definitely a conversation that that needs to reach more young people here too. Thank you for coming in, Pastor Barry. Do you have a question for them while you on? I know you said you came on late, but hey, you're here. So do you have a question for them? Also, Kim, thank you for coming on. She said, I missed a whole lot, but I'll be watching the replay. I enjoyed what I was able to hear. Yes, yes. Would love to have another conversation. Okay,
Yes.
great. You guys let me know when you ready. But they did gave some great feedback. Hey, Christina, overcoming by faith. I love this topic. I have to catch the playback for sure. Great. Listen, I gave them the opportunity to talk. Unless I heard my name, they may say, okay, Miss Bernice, all right, let me come in and talk to them. But is you guys will catch the replay. It's mainly been them talking, sharing their heart, sharing pointers of what they believe should happen. Listen, I better get with the TikTok crew. Yeah. So listen, I'm glad you guys took away some things. So by the way, for those who've been watching this, what did you take away? That could give some good pointers for those who are catching it late, but hey, they'll know what was said. So for those who are watching, share something. What did you take away? I see that Pastor Selena says she got to get with the TikTok. I definitely believe in the training and a mentor of the youth. Great. I truly appreciate you all. Yes, definitely. Any last words that you guys want to share? Maybe you've said a lot and it was amazing. You guys had amazing things to say, but maybe there was something that you want to kind of like wrap up, or maybe you felt like there was something that you didn't say, but you want to highlight it. You want to highlight this. What would it be?
RJ, you want to go first?
Um, I will. I want to take the time to publicly thank Miss Bernice for allowing us to talk about this, because when we don't, it causes church hurt and trauma that turn us away from the church and we run from God. So that's all I have to say.
Um, I want to thank Ms. Bernice again for this lovely opportunity to be able to speak on this great platform. And the last thing I wanted to say is this, and I want, if you don't take anything else from this whole conversation, I want you to take this: youth growth is church growth, and that's it. That's it. That's simple. Um,
That was
if
more
you
than
want to know
simple.
how to grow your
That was
church,
a drop. That was a mic
That was a
drop. You talking about
mouthful.
grow your
simple?
youth department.
That's
Youth
right.
growth is church growth.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I was
It's,
just saying that
no,
was
no,
more than
that's all.
simple.
That's all I got to say.
That
That's
was
all I got to say.
Yeah.
that was powerful. No, seriously. And if we really take that, because let me say this, because we often as a church as a whole, we keep talking about growth. We want to grow, we want to grow. And there's no youth that we're giving them a voice. So yes, I think what you just said is definitely um it, on point. And it's not simple. Let me say that. It is necessary that we bring youth in. Yes, that's it, Christina. That's a whole gem. Youth growth is church growth. Yes. All right, now I'm going to use that. But yeah, so I just want you to know that. Like, no, there was no simplicity in what you just said. That is very vital, and very important. So, anything else? Anything else?
They said it's gonna be a part two. I got to save the rest for part two.
Gotta keep in mind.
Oh man. So for part two, okay. I'm open. I'm open for part two. For that she came in. Yes, Krista. Youth growth is church growth. I'm telling you, that was it right there. Let me leave that in there for a minute. Yes, youth growth is church growth. That's the truth. So for part two, yes, I'm all game. I'm open for part two. All right. What would you like to see happen with part two?
Uh, I would really
Yes.
love. I think we had nice comments, but I want more. I want more. hear more from the comments. Um, what is going on with them, more like that, to address some of that. Because, like I said, each church is different. So I could speak to the church generally, but I can't speak to you specifically unless I know you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Dre, what about you? What would you like to see? Because we covered a lot
We did.
tonight, and in so little time. And I know this is not a topic that could really take just this number of time, and it's just a issue just gone that way. I think it takes more than just this conversation, but like Pastor Selena mentioned earlier, I think she mentioned implementation, and so I know that yes, there needs to be a part two, but I'm asking you, what does that look like? We did cover a lot on this end. We covered steps. You gave them literally, if everybody catch that replay, you guys literally gave them the playbook on how to have a thriving church. So let me say this, what you guys said tonight, I think we all should put some type of hands confetti for them in the comments. Let me say that what you guys said tonight, you literally, hear this from me, you gave every pastor, every youth leader, every youth advisor, every youth pastor, every bishop, every apostle. Yeah, there you go. I'm serious. I speak that to you. I'm telling you, you guys, if y'all catch the replay, you gave these guys gave the playbook, what they were looking for, what they don't like that needs to change. They shared their voices. I hardly was talking. I gave them the platform to share what they feel is necessary. Yeah, you guys, yeah, the hands, you gave them the playbook. If they were to go back and catch this whole entire replay, you gave them exactly what to look for, what platforms they need, what they should not be doing, how decisions can be made with you guys in it, what you look for with events. Even for those who say, I don't have youth or much youth in churches, the question was asked, what should they do, or what should the pastors or leaders do when they don't have as many youth and they want the youth to come in? They shared their heart on that as well. So literally, you guys gave the playbook. So I say that to say this. Yeah, y'all keep it coming. Yeah, they say thank you. Y'all, don't sleep on this conversation. If you go back, they share everything. Now, she says, I'm making calls after I log off. I'm telling you, if you guys really listen, I heard you guys. If they really listen and implement, like Pastor Selena is saying, yes, you gave the playbook. There's no excuse. Now, this, and I think you're hearing from youth 18, and I think Dre, what, you 15 or 16?
16.
16. So you guys are hearing from teens. So, you know, that you gave the playbook. Now, I say that to say this. You shared a lot tonight. You, like I said, you gave the playbook. So what are we going to talk about for step 2? For number 2? What is it? What is there that may have not been discussed, or is it more elaboration, clarification? What does number 2 look like? And I want to ask those who are catching the replay, or y'all are watching live right now, what is it that you feel we should cover in part 2? What does that look like?
Uh, I want if I want to focus on it in part two. Really is community outreach when it comes to the youth, because like I was saying earlier, you have to go about that tactically, and I think it's a way we need to break down how tactically we need to move when it comes to community outreach with our youth. Because you just can't walk up into a school and be like, oh, I'm from such and such church, and I would like to give this and this out. No, no, no. There's a process, and we need to talk about that process. Uh, we need to talk about what is the steps of moving forward to um, to get youth more involved. Because like I was saying earlier, what works for me and Andre, like we're singing in the choir and lining the hymn. We know how to line the hymn and working as usher boy. Don't work for everybody. What are some other ways we can implement youth in church and community outreach? Andre, you want to elaborate?
I'll just add some stuff. I also think that spiritual development should also be added in part two, as well as a diversity of perspectives. Um, our loss of future leaders because we have to take over the church when it's our time. So I think that's what we should add.
Uh, I like what my cousin just said. When the parents weren't fully in church as kids, it's difficult at times to have them to get their kids into church because the question is why they have to go, and their parents didn't elaborate on that. And I want to say that part too because when I was saying, because it's like it's a whole lot. Like Miss Bernice was saying, when I said that last little piece, youth growth is church growth. What I meant by that was if you can appeal to the children and get them to come to church, the parents have to go with them because the parents don't trust them going with strangers. So once you get the children, once you get the parents, if the child having a good time, the parents will keep bringing them back. Uh, I'm going to name drop on this one. There's this great church in Point Where called Followers of Christ Baptist Church. Got a great youth ministry, and their church has just grown so much because they have targeted the youth, and the youth are having a good time. So they brought in the parents also. And I known people who did not go to church before, but because their children loved it so much, they decided to go.
That's right.
So, but but there's more to go in depth about that in part two. Miss Bernice.
All right, you call me. I told you, call me. I'm coming. So, all right. So this is what I hear. All right, part two is implementation plan. I see Pastor Barry. She says, I don't know if you all talked about this, but implementation plan is vital in part two. I think we did cover some implementation, some steps that you guys were expecting from a youth community. But I do believe that, like Christina has here, I do believe that we can connect it. The implementation, talk about process to connect. I think that's definitely important. All of you guys are saying great points. Pastor Selena says, let's talk about process. She says, if you get the kids, in many cases, the parents will come. Yes, exactly. I haven't seen it. Okay, so I took notes. Okay, so I believe part two, we're going to talk about implementation plan. Youth growth is church growth. I think we need to come back to that and dissect that. What does that mean? Process to connect. Also, youth succession as a whole, because we did cover that. But what does that look like from a typical, overall pastor or leader, senior leader as a church as a whole? What does that look like? Anything else? But we say, yeah, exactly. I've seen it, but um, that's part two. Should we add something else? Oh, that's it.
No, I believe that's it on my behalf. I'm just excited.
Yeah. Again, you guys gave the playbook. And I am super excited to, be able to have this conversation with you guys and offer this platform. And I'm going to be adding some reels in here so you guys can share on your TikTok as well. Yeah, part two is going to be phenomenal. I believe that too. You guys, is this time okay for y'all? Like Sunday, 3:30, 4:30 is around this time.
Perfect.
Okay. It's perfect. Okay. Um, What about you guys in the comments? We want to make sure, I know some people were late. Just want to make sure that this is a good time because we want to be strategic in this and have these conversations around the time where we can also get some feedback. Greetings, Bishop from UK. You also originally from Ghana. I believe you're traveling to UK. So
Mm,
thank you for your greetings. You get out of something what you put into it. Yes, can't expect a thriving youth ministry if it isn't poured into and invested in. Yeah, okay, perfect timing. Okay, great. I was thinking more so, Sunday after church, a time to reflect after service. And most times where Sundays is after church, kind of eat and kind of relax. And so thank you. I'm glad that this chosen time is good. Okay, great. And blessings. We got to bring, I think Bryson is a youth as well, right?
yeah,
How old is Bryson?
I believe Bryson is 14. I
14?
believe.
Okay.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Bryson? All right. Bryson, we got to bring Bryson in. Bryson,
Yes.
let me know um one thing that or two that you believe that the youth, I mean, excuse me, churches should also offer or to do. We're talking about, those consequences of not giving the youth voices. So yeah, you 14, man. I think you can give some great pointers as well. Yeah, those are some age, you guys are in the age group where most youth your age aren't even in church, okay? And if they
Right.
do
That's right.
come, like seriously, like you said, you guys are church kids. And usually like PKs or just church kids, they're there, but not many churches, I mean, excuse me, youth your ages are excited about church. So I'm glad to be able to have you guys, your age group and having those that are in that age group, in your age group that are listening in and also chiming in. And I'm going to speak to you guys who are in that age group that may not, you're watching and you may not have, commented like a couple of the others. I want you to know that, hey, inbox me. You're more than welcome to share your voice. You may not want to do it publicly. It's totally okay. If you got questions, you got comments, you want something that maybe it's something that you've been wanting to say and you don't want to say it publicly, but you want to send it to my DM me. I'll make sure we have that topic and I won't even say your name. Okay.
Right.
I'll just make sure. Cause I think that's what happens a lot of times too. There's some youth that have so much to say, but aren't like y'all. They might not want to talk publicly, but they got a lot to say. So let me
Yeah.
say this. Hey, you may have something to say. You can DM me and just, I promise you, I won't even say your name, but I'll say, hey, this is what a youth had to say. What do you guys think about this? And just make sure that your voice is heard. So just let you know, I just want to put that out there. Yeah. All right. Thank you for giving our youth this platform. This is so necessary. Awesome. Y'all get ready. I'm going to do a couple of reels so you guys can post it on your TikTok. And I'm going to put them on our TikTok as well as IG. So let's get this message out and let's plan a date for part 2. And let's dive into implementation. Like what's next after this? All right, y'all. It's been great, y'all.
It's been great.
It's been great.
Again, I want to say thank you, everybody. And thank you both for your time and your feedback.